Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Today, I have an amazing guest. This is somebody I met online. And once I got to know him a little bit more and found out what he does, he has an amazing story. And I just had to have him on my show. He is a wealth of knowledge, been able to help so many people, businesses, and real estate investors animate their businesses. He's an optometrist. He's a real estate investor. He's a private lender. He specializes also in e-commerce. And he loves being able to really create those businesses and also create those relationships to utmost successes. And he also won a Real Estate Investor of the Year award. So I can't wait to hear that story. So please welcome the amazing Dr. Kevin ENGEL.
Hey, Fong. Thanks for having me on today.
Hey, thanks for being here. How are you doing today?
That's some enthusiasm. So, wow, that's awesome. So I'll have to up my game here a little bit. That's great. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for being here and also sharing some of your wisdom with us today. For people who don't really know who you are, can you please give us a kind of a Cole's Notes of your journey to become who you are today and what you're passionate about right now?
Yeah, I would say right now it's, okay. Oh, let's start at the beginning. My name is Dr. Kevin ENGEL. I am from Lacombe, Alberta, and my background is traditional business ownership. Like I'm an eye doctor. We bought our own practice. I was in my late 20s at the time. So 21 years ago, we bought our own practice. And I guess for me, this journey towards financial freedom started about 12 years ago. That's when the doctors thought I had cancer. So a little bit of adversity there. You know what I mean? Like I realized if I didn't work as a doctor, I didn't get paid. And even as a business owner, I just had more on the line, right? If I wasn't there producing, we weren't making money. So I thought I was starting to look for other ways of making money. Read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was a good friend that gave me that book. That was about 12 years ago. It's funny, my friend doesn't remember giving me the book. I'm forever grateful. Like, I mean, he read the book. He said, well, and I know he's only got one rental property still, right? He had one rental property, read the book, kind of looked cool. You might enjoy it. So he gave it to me and I'm forever grateful, right?
I'm surprised he's not taking credit for it. He should have said, yeah, I did get you that book.
Well, anyway, it was just part of that journey, right? Because I was introduced to that Rich Dad, Poor Dad concept and the thought of, I don't know, money leverage, time leverage. I certainly wouldn't be where I'm at today, right? If it wasn't for that book. And I would say with the mentors that I have too. So you make me sound smart, Fong. I'm not that smart. I'm just a doctor. I surround myself.
I'm just a doctor. Where have I heard that before? I'm just a doctor. I'm not that smart.
Well, I surround myself with smart people. Does it make sense?
It totally makes sense.
So if you want my opinion, yes, I'm an expert in that area. But when I got started, I knew nothing about e-commerce. I knew nothing about network marketing, or nothing about real estate investing or private lending. I just surrounded myself with experts in that space that were able to help me grow and develop and turn those into huge businesses now.
So you've basically kind of broken that myth about once you're a doctor, your path is all laid out. You're going to be financially okay. You're going to be able to buy all this stuff because you're a professional. So what is it about that mindset that really doesn't work? Where people go, okay, well, I can't just stay as a doctor my entire career. I need to break out and do something else.
Well, for me, again, it was probably that life curveball that was thrown at me. You know what I mean? Like my mom, my dad, my sister, they've all had cancer. And that scare made me realize that I wasn't going to be able to enjoy the same lifestyle if I wasn't working actively.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then made me think too, because I've been trying to that point in my career, I'd been practicing for 10 years. I was in my peak earning years as an eye doctor. Mm-hmm. And I realized, man, if I don't work for 6 months, we're like 6 months away from broke, really. You know, we had a big mortgage, we had a brand new house, we had bought the cottage, we had the boat, you're living that rich lifestyle. But at the end of the day, I read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I was like, oh crap, these are not assets, they're liabilities that cost me money every month. Mm-hmm. So it was a total mind shift. At that point, I was making a big active income, which, to be honest, Fong, as you know, you're an entrepreneur and an investor too, so it doesn't impress me much anymore.
Now, when you had your own practice, was that before or after you read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I'd owned my own practice for 10 years already. We bought our, in 1999, we bought our practice. It was almost 10 years to the day later that that cancer scare came around, just knocked at my door, and I was like, oh crap, I'd been saving and investing for, at that point, already 14 years. And I realized I'm nowhere close to where I want to be financially, nowhere close.
So when it comes to having that your own practice at the time, is that normal? Is that common when optometrists, like once you get into your profession, to start owning your own practices and then expanding from there?
Well, I guess I'm always a goal guy, Fong. I always set goals, and one of my goals was to own my own practice at 5 years after I graduated optometry. Mm-hmm. So it was actually 4.5 years after graduation that I closed this deal on this practice in Lacombe, where I'm at. It was a retiring doctor we bought the practice from, and we've grown it significantly. But it's funny, Fong, we just actually sold our practice. We're now in a large group practice now. Mm-hmm. It's funny, the equity I created in my practice that took me 27 years to create, I've generated 10 times more equity in real estate in half the time. Does it make sense? Like, I mean, it's just, and I would say less, I don't know, less work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's more passive based. That's why, that's why private lending, that's why e-commerce, that's why real estate investment, to replace my active income. Mm-hmm. So when I retire, there's no change in lifestyle, right? Like many people experience.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about the journey towards each new step. So you started going to real estate. What was that first deal like?
My hand was shaking, Fong. I was freaking out. Well, for me at that time, like as I said, we were 6 months away from broke. You know what I mean? Like I had a small nest egg. We had sold a commercial building that we had our practice in. We moved into a larger location. And it's crazy. I couldn't buy that new location. We were leasing our new spot. And I realized that that little commercial building that we had our practice in downtown Lacombe, we sold it for, well, after having the practice for almost 10 years, we sold it for what we sold that building for what we bought the entire practice and the building together for. So it was like, real estate seems to do pretty well, right? We'd always done fairly well in our houses too, but I never actually thought of it as a business.
Mm-hmm. And then right? how did that transfer into being a private lender and into network marketing and e-commerce?
Well, for me, it was real estate has been great. Like I've created a lot of equity in real estate, like buying properties, a lot of forced appreciation, right? I would say in 2014, I felt like a rock star in real estate because at that time I only had about 40 properties at that time. I was still growing my portfolio, but that said it was one that the rents were all-time highs, vacancies all-time lows, a lot of appreciation in my portfolio at that point. And then 2017 hit, right? 2016. And that's when that drop occurred in Alberta, right? And I realized at that point, I was all in on one sector. I was all in on real estate. I still am. I love real estate. I bought 34 more doors in the last 2 years with joint venture partners, and this last 6 on my own here. But just, I was looking for diversification. Does it make sense? It's just interesting how along my path, along my journey, there's different people that have came into my life. And it was about 3 years ago, I met a couple from Red Deer, and very successful real estate investors, at least by my standards. They'd done quite well. They had 12 suited houses in Red Deer, Alberta. So again, 24 properties, 24, and then some separate garages and stuff. And I asked, hey, how's that going? Because they're late 60s, maybe early 70s, trying to retire in the real estate. And there was, Kevin, we're broke right now.
Wow.
And I was like, what are you talking? Like, I mean, they've got a huge net worth, or a pretty significant net worth, right? But they said, Kevin, our cash flow is dead right now because their vacancies have gone down quite a bit. Or their vacancies were up quite a bit. The rents were down. And they said, we had 2 major renovations in the last couple of months. It would cost us like 50 grand in renovations. And it was like, that chewed into a lot of their reserve capital and a lot of their cash flow. And that's what they're trying to retire on. So it's like, that's when I started looking at I don't know, just other ways of making money as well, if it makes sense, and diversifying further.
I love how humble you are. You use the word only a doctor. I'm not very smart. I only have 40 doors. I'm like, wow, this guy's so humble. How did that come about? Was that something that you've always possessed, and you've been able to build better relationships being humble?
Let me say this, Fong, in that I know a lot of doctors that have lost a lot of money in real estate because they thought they were smart. Does it make sense?
Yeah,
So
totally.
my mentor said, Kevin, in this realm, you got to be coachable, is what he told me. And it was when when I'm working with a coach, I want to make sure it's not somebody who's done it, like 25 years ago, who's actually active in he's been through a couple downturns. He's been through the easy times and hard times. Does it make sense? Like so again, just mentors like that have spoken into my life. And he said, be careful. And again, just reading and increasing my financial knowledge, I realized that you get that arrival syndrome, you're in big trouble.
Right.
I don't know if you know what that, what that means, like you've arrived, right? Like it was like, all there is to know. And I realized the more I know, the more I realize I don't know, if that makes sense. And maybe that's a constant hunger for, I don't know, like I love working with mentors. I've always found mentors in sectors that they've achieved what I wanted to achieve. They kind of paved the way. They were doing what I wanted to do, and they were showing me how. And that's why I've shown success in other areas, right? Other than optometry.
Right.
Whereas if you're not coachable, you think you're smart. I think you're in trouble. I don't know. Like I really seriously believe that then that's where I've seen real estate investors go down, because they think everything they're going to touch is going to turn to gold. And then there was a change in the market, and that big condo, I don't know, it's guys that were buy and hold investors like me. They were making good money, and then they went into property development, like buying land and doing. And I guess if the market had continued to go up and up and up in 2006, 7, and then beyond, it would have been amazing for them. But a lot of guys that I met in real estate in 2009, 2010, when I joined a real estate group in Alberta, had lost everything.
That's tough.
And talk about humble. They were there, and a wealth of knowledge, makes sense. And they were ingraining in me, buy smart, like buy strategically. And, but those guys had hundreds of properties, some of them. But there are other guys in the room that had hundreds of properties that weathered the storm. And those, again, I'm listening to what did they do differently, right? So mentorship has always been key. That's not thinking I'm too smart, Fong. So,
well, you possess that continuing learning mindset, which is something I found very, very common in a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners. Have you always kind of had that mindset of, you know what, I need to talk to people. I need to ask people for advice, follow other successful people, listen to coaches, or is that something that you go, you know what, that's what I'm missing. I need to start doing that instead.
I've always done that. I've been always a question asker, if that makes sense. Maybe that's good or bad. I don't know. It's I asked lots of questions, even in high school and things like that, and had great mentors that guided me towards that goal of being an eye doctor, right? When people in my life said I couldn't do it.
Right. How did you go against that when people tell you that you can't do it?
I would say almost, it's weird. Maybe I'm just like, it was so emotional to me. Like it was so, I would say I wanted to be like, say that, I don't know, it was kind of ingrained in me. I don't know, maybe it was, now I read Rich Dad, or rather Think and Grow Rich later in life now, and studying that more, I realized that I had a very clear and definite goal. I wanted to be an eye doctor. No matter what people told me, that's what I had dreamed of doing and wanted to do. In fact, first day of grade 12, guess what I had on? I had a sweatshirt on from the School of Optometry in Waterloo. And there's only one School of Optometry in Canada. And I wore that to my first day of grade 12 in small town Saskatchewan. And guess what? People criticize me for wearing it.
Wow.
Because people, they don't do that. Like, I mean, you can't do that. Or it was, I don't know, I was very definite in what I was going to do, right? So I don't know. It's, man.
That's good. You must not have a lot of negative people around you then.
I wouldn't say that. I've actually distanced myself from people that were negative.
Uh-huh.
But you know what? The two key people in my life that were so huge for me would have stayed my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was my parents that took me to the University of Waterloo. The summer between grade 11 and grade 12. That was our summer vacation. We went to Ontario. You know, we might have done like Canada's Wonderland and we went to Niagara Falls, but we stopped in Waterloo, Ontario to tour the optometry school. Like grade 11 kid, I don't know, like they believed in me enough to take me. You know what I mean? And that was amazing.
What was it about the eye that fascinated you so much?
I say it was the lifestyle.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, I grew up in small town Saskatchewan. You know, I live in small town Alberta now. And when I talked to my family doctor, man, I saw he loved his job. Somewhat. He said he was overworked though.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm working 80 hours a week. He gets 3 weeks holidays a year. He said, in my first week, I'm winding down slowly, 1 week of relaxation. And then he's got his next week, he's jacking back up because he's going back to those 80-hour weeks. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And my eye doctor in small town Alberta, or Saskatchewan rather, you know, he just had more of a 9-to-5 job and had more balance in his life. And I realized I wanted to have family. And that time with family was key to me. And maybe that's why Rich Dad Poor Dad resonated with me so much, because it was that passive, making more money passively than continuing to work more. Or like I know I would say some doctors that retired at age 40, 45, but they work 6 or 7 days a week as a doctor. Mm-hmm. And in some cases they were divorced. They were kind of estranged from their kids because it was all work, right? And I don't know. I just kind of wanted things a little different. So that's what optometry is, just the more lifestyle, right? And still a good income, right? Fantastic income as a doctor, but more, what do they say? Doctor's wages, but businessman's hours.
Oh, nice. So, one of my cousins, when he was very young, he goes, I know what I'm going to do when I grow up. And what? A doctor. I'm like, what kind? You know, the kind that just goes 2 or 3,
yeah,
5 or 6.
Yeah.
Now, you won the award for having the most creative real estate deals in 2018. Yeah. Share with us one of the most creative deals that you've ever put together.
Well, it was in 2018, I would say I won that award thanks to one of my mentors. It wasn't Kevin being super smart. It was, again, I would say in that 2017-18, I was searching, right? I was trying to figure out, I was kind of stuck in real estate because it was harder to get more financing. Okay. I was limited capital then. But to that point, developing with 40 doors, I was all in, like all of my reserve capital, all of my capital was in on real estate. And I was looking for other ways to invest. And I would say a couple of key people came into my life, and Andrea Workington is one of my mentors. It's crazy. She's younger than me. Okay. She's 10 years younger than I am. And yet she's got as many doors. Actually, I think she's going to exceed me here with some of the big, huge projects she's got on the go now. Mm-hmm. And she's a single mom with 2 kids, you know, like she's been very creative throughout her career investing in real estate. And I'm just fortunate to have a mentor in my life like that showed me creative ways to acquire properties. So probably the most creative one was actually, 2018, I bought 10 properties, 0 money down, did renovations, refinanced them, got most of our capital back out for our investors. Mm-hmm. We did that on 10 doors, 10 properties. And then, but I'd say the biggest one was just this winter. I bought 6 townhouses in Lacombe here in my backyard. Actually, that's where I live. And we bought them. We put in, we finished the majority of the renovations before we took possession. Mm-hmm. Wow. We took possession December 8th. I had tenancy at will, which means I got in there and I had to do, so there was 3 of these 4 our townhouses have been vacant for 7 years. Wow. And so we went in and renovated them. So by the time we took possession December 8th, 5 of the 6 were rented out, renovated. We were finishing the last one. It had not been yet rented. It was rented out December or January 1st rather. But yeah, we increased the value so much that I refinanced. I got all but $25,000 of my capital out in that project on like a $1.2 million 6 townhouse project. So it was like that perfect BRRRR, right? That buy, renovate, refinance, and then rent it out. So,
well, what you just shared there, there's a few things that people say it's not possible. Number one, I bought properties with no money down. Number two, you bought 6 properties with no money down. Then you said you got into the property before you got possession. Now, all that stuff requires probably a lot of great negotiation.
well, maybe finding a sophisticated enough owner or, again, an approach that works, because I would say he had a challenge. He needed to sell these properties quickly. My problem was going to be a hard time getting these traditional financing on them because 3 of them had been vacant for 7 years. There was no income, no record of income. And so they're lending on income in these 6 traditional 6-plex, right? So it's like, okay, well, how do we do this? And I came up with a strategy where I could buy it. I said, here's what's in it for me, right? That this is an advantage to me, but I'm able to pay a better price for this property or get you out of it in the timeline that he needed. He had to be out of it by December 15th. And we were trying to close December 1st, but there were some issues with the bank. And anyway, we closed December 8th. There was a lot of challenges with that deal, but I overcame them and it was fantastic. So, but again, thanks to my mentors, right? Like Fong, if it wasn't for Barry McGuire teaching me creative real estate strategies in Alberta, he's a sophisticated investor and lawyer. You probably know Barry McGuire too, right? And just guys like that I can lean on, right? That have way more expertise in creative real estate deals than I do. And I love the fact it's given me more confidence, Fong. It's given me more, not cockiness. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't work.
Cockiness, no way.
Well, I had one of my mentors say you have to have posture to be successful. And I've been unpacking that information for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? And for me, that gentleman in my life is an extremely wealthy guy. He's a billionaire. And the fact I get to know him is amazing, right? But just he's got, I don't know, like he's just got it together. He's got a wife of 35 years. He's got 3 kids, grandkids. He's got a good balance of life and work and success in all areas of his life. So when he speaks into my life, I listen, right? And take notes. But he just had that posture. He's just so successful and just, I'll take advice from him, right? Because he's achieved in those different areas of his life what I wanted to achieve too.
Now, you mentioned your coaches, your mentors so much and how much you appreciated them. What is the one most important advice that you've gotten from your coaches, whether it's in real estate or in life?
Stay coachable, right? I would say that's been key for me, or always be a student. And I guess it's interesting. Like, as I said, mom and dad believed in me back in the day, right? And I firmly believe that's why I got into optometry school, because of that faith that my parents had in me too, right? But also my dad gave me a gift when I was 18 years old. And he gave me the gift of personal development.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, it does. My dad was taking on a new role. I saw him. He was in his late 30s at that time. He was young. He was 20 years old when I was born. So I was 18. He was 38. He was taking a new role in government, which meant more leadership than he'd ever had before. So he actually was going to the Dale Carnegie class, leadership and public speaking class. He dragged this young 18-year-old kid out to the first meeting and gave me a copy of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And in fact, I read that book and all of them. And I to this day, when I go speak about optometry, I say, hey, this book got me into optometry school, because it was just that passion for people and making the shy kid from Saskatchewan. I wouldn't say I'm more naturally an introvert, Fong, really, but it's given me that ability to relate to people and talk to people, and it wasn't about me. It was just taking a genuine interest in other people. So, but my dad gave me that gift of personal development, and I've just committed myself to that ever since.
Mhm.
So that's,
So now you're also helping other people with their businesses. You're in consulting, you're coaching. The tables have turned a little bit. You're giving back, you're helping other people. And one of the things that you say you do very well is help people animate their business.
yeah.
Explain a little bit about that. How do you animate a business?
Well, it's actually an interesting story too, that it's Bruce Firestone. I don't know if you know Bruce Firestone or not, but he was the former owner. He was one of the founding owners of the Ottawa Senators, a hugely successful real estate investor from Ontario.
Mhm.
And he asked me that question, Kevin, what are you doing to animate your portfolio? My first question to him, what the heck are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And he's got multiple strategies of putting in tech packages into his properties or into his rentals and adding value to rental properties. And it's, when it's funny when you start thinking in that way, what comes, right? When you start attracting things or thinking about things. So I found a mentor that came into my life that showed me with my portfolio, he added $50,000 a year to the bottom line of my portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
So like, holy crap, what are you talking about? Like, I mean, just showing me how I can get paid on my portfolio in multiple ways. And for me, it made sense. And now I'm teaching other business owners and investors how to do the same thing, how to add revenue streams. It's not taking them away from what they're doing, which is as I said, I'm all in real estate. I am to this day. But if I can animate things and show other people how to animate their own, and with that network marketing sort of formula, which to be honest, Fong, I was totally against until I saw the power of it. And that's what I work. I show people what they can do and add extra revenue streams to their businesses. And they can focus on being a mechanic, or they can focus on being, another guy's, we got owners of Subway, we got owners of mayors of cities that are doing the same thing because they're business owners first and mayor second, I suppose, you know what I mean? But
well, obviously you're very, very strong on building relationships and connecting the dots and be able to get people in and kind of adding value to everybody. What would you say that is one of the most key factors as to how you build good, strong relationships?
it all goes back to that book, taking a genuine interest in what they need, what their desires are, what they're looking for. It's not me selling something, looking for someone like me, was looking for another way to make money outside of what they were doing as a doctor or so that's what I tell people. I work with people that have lots of equity to create passive income. I work with lots of people that have no equity that want to create passive income streams too. And it's been amazing, right?
So if somebody comes up to you today and go, okay, I really need to create I need to create a career path. They haven't had anything set out yet, completely blank slate. Would you have them pick a profession where they're working at a job, or would you go, you know what, work on real estate first, or e-commerce?
I would say I'm Fong, my kids are in school. My kids are in university. Does it make sense? However, had they chosen to be an entrepreneur, I would have supported that too. You know what I mean? Because I took the traditional, go to school, get a good job, bought a traditional business, and I'm not against that in any way. But I would say there was not a lot of freedom there.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning I got myself a good job and I bought myself a practice, but I bought myself a job.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And the people that I know that have true freedom financially are investors, are real estate investors, private lenders, and again, people hugely successful. And I've just met a lot of people in network marketing that their levels of income and their level of freedom are way beyond what I even thought was possible. Does it make sense? You know, and I love surrounding myself with people that inspire me, right? That's when I say I've only got 40 properties back at that time, right? And it was like, because there's guys in that room, my mentors had hundreds, if not thousands of doors.
Yeah.
And I only had 40 doors, right? So it was not, I wasn't rich if you compared them. You know, what did I read the book. Okay, let me just share this. Okay, quick. Sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained at times, but it was just Secrets of the Millionaire Mind was given to me by Andrew Workington, a good mentor of mine that I told her at that time I felt stuck. I was only at 40 doors. There was lots of opportunity around. I wasn't taking action. She said, read that book. And I don't know if you've read that book, Fong, or not. I'm sure you have.
I went through it once. I need to go through it again.
Oh, man. In fact, somebody who's a good friend of Harv Ekers, the author, said, have you taken his courses? And I haven't yet, but I just engaged with him on LinkedIn and said, you know what, I want to learn more about these courses. But I read that book, and there was a quote in there that lit me up. I was on a holiday in the Dominican Republic, and it said, I had 40 properties. I hadn't arrived, but I mentioned at the time I felt like a rock star, right? I felt like I'd kind of arrived. But if I compared my net worth at that time to people that my mentors that had thousands of properties and the lifestyles they had, they would figure they were broke if they had my net worth. So I went to work, right? And made a commitment actually that day to take my business times 10.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And that didn't mean 400 properties, right? For me, it was if I could help 10 people achieve $10,000 a month in passive income, then that was my next goal, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Very nice. Now, if somebody wanted to go into real estate, first timer, have zero knowledge, zero reference point, what would be their first step?
First step, you have to create your team.
Mm-hmm.
And people ask me, well, where'd you meet your team? It's like, I found a room where there was lots of people investing in real estate. And one of my mentors there that had a key impact in my life, and I'm sure you heard Don R. Campbell.
Yeah.
Was hearing him speak, and he said, you know what, when you select a realtor, find one that invests in real estate, because he's going to understand what you're looking for. So he's a sophisticated real estate investor who happens to be a realtor as well, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? My lawyer is a real estate investor. My accountant invests in real estate, right? And just creating that team, right? And for me, it was joining a real estate group here in Alberta, the RAIN group. There's many groups out there, but find one that resonates with you, right? That would, for a first-time investor,
mm-hmm.
You have to get educated, but you have to be in that, I would say, in that culture, because I didn't know anybody that invested in real estate.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I did talk to my dad, Fong, about real estate investment. You know what he told me? He said, don't do it.
Oh, that's not familiar.
Well, in his experience, he had lost money at some of the deals that he had done. But not, as I said, I love my dad. I respect him in every way. But I take the opinion of those successful in an industry. I took that into consideration, because he said what he did didn't work, right? Mm-hmm. And then I said, well, so I didn't take that as, gospel truth. I said, well, I'll talk to my mentor. I asked questions from people successful in it. Well, he did this. What could have he done better? And so I use that as a learning tool, or it didn't stop me. Does it make sense?
Oh, yeah.
But I surrounded myself. I created that village, or people surrounded myself with people that were investing in real estate.
Mm-hmm. Now,
created that culture.
You're involved in real estate, in network marketing, in money lending, and all these other aspects of your life. How do you manage all that? Like, do you time block? Okay, every day I have 2 hours each, or like, how do you kind of control all of that and balance all that?
I would say have you read the book, The One Thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I guess what? Today I had the one thing. I was taking care of a sixplex. There was some work that needed to be done exteriorly. That's why I came maybe a little sweaty. This was actually, I do work still, but I would say when I'm focusing on my network marketing business, guess what? I'm all in. Mm-hmm. And then when it's time, there's another loan that's maturing, some equity. How we liquidated the asset that we had in our practice, and now we're putting that equity to work in private lending as well, refinancing rental properties, putting that money to work in private lending. But when a deal matures in private lending, guess what? That's my one thing. I'm all getting that capital back out and working again. So again, I would say I just go from I'm not a woman. I can't multitask, right? So I got to focus on that one thing that given day. And I would say, you know what, for me, one of the secrets to my success is I've worked 3 days a week as a doctor for the last 21 years.
Wow.
Since I was 28 years old, I started working as 3 days a week. My wife worked 2. We raised 3 kids together. We thought as the kids got older, I'd work more, see more patients or work more hours, but you know what I mean? It created some freedom in my life that I could invest in business, and now I don't have to work. I can work less, not more. Right. And,
that's
I love working. I love working, Fong. So I don't see myself ever retiring. Right.
That sounds great. During this COVID situation and pandemic, how have you adjusted, or how did you kind of tweak the way you do things?
You know what? I was thankful for the pandemic, to be honest, because it made me uncomfortable. Because in March 2020, my practice, for the first time in 27 years in business, my clinic closed its doors. There's no income. We had $25,000 a month in overhead. It's like, oh crap. Like, I mean, it's like, fortunately we had some cash reserves, right? But that said, and we had passive income already. But I realized that, you know what, man, like I talked to my friend, he was the chief of medicine in Red Deer. He said, Kevin, be prepared. We might be closed until July or August. And I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking we're going to be closed for a week, really, whatever. It's like SARS, like it happened in Vancouver. What's going to come of this? But I was uncomfortable. And even I realized this was March 15th, right? And I realized, man, at that time we had 72 properties. And I realized if they didn't pay rent April 1st, I don't know. Like, I mean, I had, with all those mortgages I had to pay April 1st, they didn't care whether I got collected rents or not. But I was uncomfortable. So I went to work. And as a result, I would say my residual income, my passive income streams have doubled in the past year. As a result, I doubled down my efforts because I don't know, there's been times in my life like that cancer scare made me uncomfortable. It was that time where there's just transition or change in my life. So, but I totally transitioned. I was like, I do more of this now, Fong. Like if you had told me I was going to be doing a lot of Zooms and closing deals over Zoom, I thought you're nuts, right? I hate the computer. But now when we met, right? We didn't just text back and forth, Fong. We actually had a Zoom conversation, and that's where I've got to know you better, because we're like, even now we're talking face to face, engaging. So Zoom's changed the business. It's been amazing.
My final formal question to you is, if you had an opportunity to speak to the entire world, one message that you want to share, what would that message be?
Man, I would say work on yourself. Right? Because again, my mentors always told me that if I worked, went to school, got a good education, got a good job, worked really hard, I can make a good living. But he said, Kevin, if you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. And, I realized for me to earn more, I had to become more. And that's where I'm so excited about personal development. I love the challenge. I love, I'm not a perfect guy. Like you asked my wife, I'm not perfect. I married really extremely well. My wife is Angela, and she's amazing. We've been married 27 years, like a fantastic partner. But yeah, I'm still a work in progress, right? And but yeah, work in yourself, because that's when you can truly find success in that marriage relationship, if that's your goal, or in your your financial world, right? Or find a spiritual mentor if you want to grow spiritually, or in that part of your life. So I've got multiple mentors now in multiple sectors, even a mindset coach that reviewed my goals, and she said, Kevin, with what you're doing now, can you achieve that goal? And my goal was $100,000 a month in passive income. I said, yeah, I can achieve that in the next 5 to 7 years. She told me, Kevin, that's a bad goal. It's not a good goal. It's like, what are you talking about? She said, choose a goal you don't know how yet to achieve. You don't know how to achieve it yet.
Wow. Great advice there. Great message. I have 5 very quick questions for you. Just give me the first thing that comes to mind. These are for fun.
Okay. Okay, sure. Now you got me nervous, Fong. The rest was easy. I don't know.
So, yeah. Very first question for you. Somebody, Hollywood gives you a call and says, hey, Kevin, we want to write your biopic. Who do you want to play your best friend?
My best friend?
Which actor would you cast into your best friend role?
Oh, and you're talking to a guy who watched movies and then has no idea who that might be.
You could give me the movie character's name.
Movie character's name, yeah. Well, I would say, I just, as a guy, Han Solo, just because, again, I love Star Wars, and he just had that cool guy, right? And I've got a really good friend of mine, his name is Neil, and just that cool guy, like an amazing friend that's always been there for me. So I would have Harrison Ford cast my best buddy in the movie. So
great. So now Harrison.
Sorry, that was a long answer to a short question. So
Harrison Ford's in your kitchen now. He's hungry. What is the special dish that you can prepare for him?
What's the special dish that I can prepare for Harrison Ford?
Yep.
Well, I do know I make a killer honey garlic rib, so I would serve that up with some rice, and oh my God, I'm thinking about it right now. So anyway, that's what I would make for Harrison Ford if he's hungry.
You're on a stage, and
yep.
you're asked to perform a hidden talent.
What's hidden talent on a stage? Okay.
Pardon?
On a stage.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to be singing, let me tell you that. So earning a residual income by singing a song and getting recorded is never going to happen, right? But I'd say a gift that I've been developing, working on, is public speaking.
Awesome.
Like I had
people
I had one speaking engagement, 18,000 people. I got a taste of that. I was jacked. That was unbelievable. I want to do more of that. So
awesome.
Anyway,
people who answer that question with singing, I do get them to sing. Next question is, if you had to relate yourself to a car, which car would that be?
I'd say it's got to be a Porsche. I've got one in my garage now. I just got it. It's been my dream car forever, and I don't know. For me, I would say when I drive that car, it's emotional for me.
Mm-hmm.
And in life, things I'm excited about or truly emotionally attached to, there's that feeling of emotion, excitement. Man, my heart still skips a beat when I go into the garage and I see it there. You know what I mean? Like, it's still, I don't know. I don't think that's ever going to wear off. I love the car, but it's full of passion. Does it make sense? And that's kind of, I would say that's Kevin. I don't know. Like, I'm excited about what I'm doing. I'm passionate about it, So.
Great choice. And my last question is, what is success like? But before you answer that question, give me a number between 1 to 4.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this one fits very well. So how is success like a hood ornament?
Hey, well, this is there. I don't know if you see the car on my vision board over there.
Yeah.
The car is there. I've in fact had on my car, the hood ornament has been the Porsche sign on my the background of my iPhone for years, right? It just finally materialized in my life, right? So I talked myself into it years ago. I just had to talk my wife into helping that dream become a reality. Yeah.
So how is success like a hood ornament?
How is success like a hood ornament?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's there for show, but really it's what's under the hood that matters.
Very, very well said.
I don't know. Does that make sense? I don't know. That's the first thing that came to mind, Fong.
That's good.
Trying to be
that's the point of these questions. That's the point.
I sound smart, but I'm not that smart, Fong. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's a pleasure listening to your stories and getting some great nuggets of wisdom from you. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Well, Fong, I want to say, hey, you know what? I appreciate you and what you're doing for people. And because again, for me, in 2020 was a year of change for me, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where we connected online and kind of connected in a real way, which is really cool. And I don't know, it's just, we're both authors. And it was one that, even for me, with me working on myself, it was meeting Brian Tracy. And when Brian heard my story and said, Kevin, I want you to write that story in my book. I co-authored a book with Brian, one of my mentors, one of my mindset mentors, which was a huge thing last year. And I don't know, it was just through networking and meeting other people is where I connected with them. So it's just, I would say, hey, as I said, networking and getting to know people, developing that network of people, develops your net worth. And I really firmly believe that.
Awesome. What's the best way to get in touch with you if people want to like pick your brain some more or hire you or have you work with them?
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? I work with people that I don't really charge to mentor people. Does it make sense? Because the people in my life that have really mentored me in a big, big way have just been there because they got money out of the way. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I'm happy to help people, you know what I mean? Or introduce them to people in my network. And the best way would be just to even call or text me, mm-hmm. right? We can do a Zoom call together because I really want to find out what their goals are, find out what they want to achieve. And as I said, I'm not that smart, so I just introduce them to my mentors that have helped me, right? In many cases, or hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what's working for me, and helping them, just guiding them to what's their goal and what do I think is the fastest way for them to achieve it, right? Based on what I know.
Great. Well, thank you very much again for being here. Your time is very valuable, so I'll let you have the rest of your day back. Until next time, he is Dr. Kevin Engel. My name is Fong. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your peak potential. We'll see you later.